Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight. With the PLP leadership race behind him, Prime Minister Perry Christie sets his eye on the PLP taking it all at the national poll. This as the party celebrates pulling off a successful convention this week. Meanwhile, Dr. Hubert Minnis says he's unbothered by F&M turncoats. Plus, the Attorney General urging eligible voters to get out and register. Welcome to our news. I'm Paige McCartney. Thanks for joining us. Topping news tonight. Now that the leadership race of the Progressive Liberal Party is done and party leader Prime Minister Perry Christie defeated his only challenger, Christie says he can now focus on the general election. Here's Christina McNeil with more.
After securing the top post in the Progressive Liberal Party once again, Prime Minister Perry Christie says it feels good to know the party has confidence in his leadership.
Listen, I'm extremely gratified. When you are subjected to a contest and people have to make decisions as to whether or not they support you, and they do in overwhelming numbers, you have to feel very, very good about it, because it means that they understand what it means to have continuity in office.
In the run-up to the party's election, leadership hopeful and Fort Charlotte candidate Alfred Sears lamented the election process, claiming the deck was stacked against him. Despite those claims, Christie says he does not believe Sears' challenge to the leadership will affect the candidate's future in the party.
We are living in a democracy. I must say that he elected to run. He thought he could win. He tried to do just that. Well, I don't think it arises as to whether or not he has the support of the party. We nominated him, and we nominated him on the basis that we thought he had the capacity to easily win the seat. That was our confidence in him, and I have no reason to doubt the basis of that decision, and so I've moved on.
Now, Christie says he believes Sears will be focused on winning his seat, along with the party's other ratified candidates.
He has been given the nomination for the Fort Charlotte constituency. I assume when he applied for it that he wanted to be a member of Parliament, and that he now must contest in that capacity the general election for that constituency and be successful, because one of the ways for the PLP to form the next government is for any number of us, including Mr. Sears, to be successful.
Looking back on the jam-packed three-day national convention, Christie says he is confident that the PLP is a unified party that will be returned to office.
That's a good indication for us that we are headed in the right direction. And as I indicated, that we are a stable party, one that provides a continuum of leadership. You know what you're going to get, and perhaps equally as important, you know, based on our own history of stability, you know what you're not going to get. And that is what is evident today, the splintering on the part of the opposition parties in our country.
The Boundaries Commission report is expected as early as next week after delays late last year. After that is complete, the Prime Minister expects to set an election date. Reporting for our news, I'm Christina McNeil.
Well, Chairman of the Progressive Liberal Party's National Convention, Shane Gibson, says the recent PLP convention surpassed organizers' expectations.
We had anticipated a good convention. We had anticipated large numbers, but the numbers even exceeded our expectation. And so for delegates alone, we have over 3,000 delegates. That's the delegates. Those are not the persons who just come in, the supporters, the observers, those are official delegates. And so when we look at day one, it was a blast. Day two, during the day sessions of 1 and 2, we dealt with some internal party matters. That's been very good. Had some dynamic presenters there, young people. And what really impressed me most of all about this particular convention is the number of young people who are attending the convention.
The PLP had not held a convention since 2009. Last year, the National Convention, which was set for the last week of November, was postponed for a third time. That delay was due to the extensive damage Hurricane Matthew visited on several islands in October. New Providence, Grand Bahama, and Andros were the islands most affected by the storm.
We actually had planned to have the convention a couple of years ago. Then we had Hurricane Walking came just when we were about to have it. We were about to have it again. Then Hurricane Matthew came. We thought it would be insensitive for us to go on with a convention, knowing that individuals didn't know where they were going to be staying. In some cases, 3 and 4 families staying in one house. In lots of cases, they didn't have insurance, and so they were left in a very difficult position.
Gibson says given the major success of the convention, officials are looking to hold the events more frequently.
Hopefully we can put ourselves in a position where we actually have a convention every year. But as you know, convention is very expensive. I'm not sure what the price tag is on this one yet because the bills are still coming in. So once we're able to tally it up, then we'll be in a better position to say exactly what the convention costs us. But suffice it to say, the idea is to have conventions on an annual basis.
Well, F&M leader Dr. Hubert Minnis says he's unfazed by those former members of the Free National Movement who've crossed party lines to join the PLP. In fact, Dr. Minnis says as far as he's concerned, it's just a desperate attempt by the PLP to gain political points ahead of the general election. Here's Jasmine Brown.
The Free National Movement leader says the PLP's latest move is nothing more than a political ploy.
Christie and the PLP are now drowning, grasping for straws, fighting for survival, and grabbing anything they can.
On the last night of the PLP's 3-day convention, former F&M MPs Lester Turnquest, Byron Woodside, and Anthony Miller were among those former F&Ms on stage pledging their support to the PLP leader. Minnis says moves like that are not new for the PLP. At this point, he says the party is acting in desperation.
This is a replay of 1992. The Bahamian people would all remember that 1992, when the PLP was on the verge of defeat, they were like a drowning man reaching for straws to survive. They knew they were going. They knew they were drowning. They were going to be defeated. So what did Penland do? He had multiple F&Ms and people who were loyal to F&Ms who would have come forth, been interviewed on TV, and their statement was, "I'm a PLP and I'm proud."
When asked if he believes the display is a poor reflection of its leadership, Minnis said no. He also dismissed claims that the F&M is in a weakened state.
Defeat is looking them in the face. And now, as a dying, desperate man, they're grabbing any and everything. But the Bahamian people are no fools. We know they have destroyed this country. They are corrupt. They are dishonest. They practice nepotism. They practice cronyism. And it must stop. This is a new day. This is now the people's time. The people will speak. The people will be listened to. And the people will finally get their day.
Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown.
Well, now that the nation is entering election season, the Christie administration has placed heavy emphasis on low voter registration and the reasons why Bahamians are not turning out to register as before. Despite extended hours, increased registration centers, and increased staff, Minister of National Security Dr. Bernard Nottage said voters may just not be interested in voting for those running in their constituencies and called the low registration numbers unprecedented. Over 80,000 people have registered to vote. That's about 44% of eligible voters. Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson renewed the call for eligible voters to get registered and to go out on Election Day and to vote.
If we are to rise to our obligation as citizens of a sovereign nation, it is extremely important that those who want to participate in and assure the future of their country register to vote. And importantly, on Election Day, go to vote. It's not good enough to be, I don't know if I would call it a couch potato or a Monday morning quarterback or WhatsApping. Those things are all well and good. But what's important about citizenship is to exercise the important prerogatives and rights that are attendant upon citizenship.
Maynard Gibson said there was once a time when many Bahamians weren't able to vote in their own country, and said that should be reason enough for many to get out and exercise their civic duty.
That it wasn't so long ago that persons, picture the Sir Stafford Sanders building that had brass plaques on it, 500 brass plaques, each of which he could utilize as a vote, and he could vote in many places in the country, and that other persons who did not own property or who were persons of color could not vote. That happened in living memory.
We have a lot more news to get to. On the other side of this break, the DNA spills its promise to cut taxes if it wins at the polls. Stay with us.
When you love the